Ozempic was designed for diabetes care. Today, it's reshaping everyday behavior, curbing appetite at scale, and altering what people buy across grocery aisles. As consumption slows, category growth patterns shift. And for brands and retailers, this is just not a health story anymore. It's a demand planning story. I am Shrestha, and in this video, we'll look at the key developments every CPG leader should track as the Ozempic effect moves from a health trend to a structural shift in consumer demand. Now, let's start with the numbers because they are staggering. We passed the point of debating whether GLP-1 drugs matter. eMarketer and Circana estimate that around 12% of US adults have already taken a GLP-1 drug medication, roughly 15 million people. Academic models from Cornell University and Numerator suggest the influence of GLP-1 users could extend to nearly 13% of food and beverage units sold by the early 2030s. The level of adoption signals a real shift in consumption behavior, especially across grocery categories tied to snacking, sugary beverages, and convenience eating. On the contrary, Goldman Sachs research takes a more measured view of the market's economic impact. Their analysts expect the global anti-obesity drug market to reach around $95 billion by 2030, lower than earlier projections, and also take into account real barriers like insurance coverage, patient dropout, and pricing pressure. In other words, demand is real and growing, but scale may build more slowly and unevenly than the hype actually suggests. So this isn't just some passing diet fad that fade by summer. This is a structural shift in how people consume food and make purchasing decisions. Let's zoom into the grocery shopping habits first. When people start taking GLP-1s, their grocery shopping habits change dramatically. A study by Cornell University and Numerator found that households with at least one GLP-1 user cut their grocery spending by approximately 6% within the first 6 months of taking the medication. That sounds modest, right? But let's do the math. That's a $416 less per household annually. And if we are talking about higher income households, those earnings over $125,000, that number jumps to $690 a year. But here's the thing that really should matter to brands. The damage isn't evenly distributed across categories. The hardest hit categories are exactly what you would expect. Savory snacks saw an 11% decline. Baked goods and sweet items dropped between 6.7% and 11.1%. Dried meat snacks, beverages with added sugar, alcohol. So if you're a traditional snack brand built on indulgence, this is a headwind for you. But it's not all bad news. Certain categories are actually growing. Fresh produce, yogurt, high-protein foods. According to Circana research, spending on fresh produce and daily department shows sustained increases throughout the entire first year on GLP-1 medication. One executive from Circana put it clearly. The benefits of GLP-1 towards produce and daily at retail are strong. These departments show increasing purchasing, not just for one first few months, but throughout the entire first year. So here's what is actually happening. GLP-1 users still need to eat. They're just eating way less, and what they do eat needs to count. Protein, fiber, nutrients, that's the priority. Now let's talk about restaurants because the story there is actually fascinating. You'd think that if people are eating less, restaurants would all be panicking, and some are. But according to Revenue Management Solutions, which surveyed over 2,000 US consumers, including 800 current and 400 former GLP-1 users, the picture is more nuanced. Here's what they found. GLP-1 users are actually more frequent restaurant visitors than the general population, but they're spending less per visit and being way more price conscious. Nearly half of former GLP-1 users reported more quick service restaurant visits in the past month. Meanwhile, current users showed more frequent visits to full-service restaurants, 17% versus 11% for non-users. So the trend isn't that people are avoiding restaurants, it's that they're shifting where they eat and how much they spend. Restaurants are also starting to see customers ordering half portions, requesting sides to be removed, asking to take home more than they finish. Some consumers are even requesting smaller plates or actually just eating less of what's ordered. And here's the behavioral shift on that's really, really important. Spending on fast casual restaurants has declined, but spending on full service restaurants where the experience and the quality matter is actually holding up better. It's not about volume anymore, it's about occasion and experience. One analyst put it this way: when food becomes less about indulgence and more about occasion, restaurants that focus on quality, social experience, and intentional dining can actually benefit. Okay, now we know what's declining, but what are GLP-1 users actually eating? According to research from Oklahoma State University's Food and Agricultural Products Center, there's a clear pattern. GLP-1 users are prioritizing protein. They're loading up on vegetables and fruits. They're avoiding high sugar items, fatty proteins, spicy foods, and refined carbs. Because they eat less, they're being intentional about every calorie. The research is really clear on this. These users aren't just eating less of everything, they're fundamentally changing their food preferences. According to a study cited by eMarketer, GLP-1 users report reduced desire not just for food, but for snacks, alcohol, coffee. It's a broader suppression of appetite. But here's something interesting that brands should pay attention to. Side effects matter. Many GLP-1 users experience nausea, constipation, or bad breath. So, if they are also increasing spending on things like gum, tea, digestive aids, categories that can help manage these side effects. Circana research found that GLP-1 users are also increasing spending on non-food categories too. Fitness trackers, cosmetics, apparel in smaller sizes, oral care products. Because this isn't just a dietary change, it's a lifestyle transformation. Let's try to understand how brands are really responding. This is quite interesting because some of the biggest food companies in the world are making massive moves. First, Conagra Brands, because they just made a really bold statement. In Jan 2025, Conagra became the first major food company to launch a GLP-1 friendly label. They added on-track batches to 26 healthy choice frozen meals. These meals are specially designed with high protein, high fiber, and low calories, exactly what GLP-1 users need. And here's the thing, they're not hiding this, they're calling it out right on the packaging. Sean Connolly, the CEO of Conagra, said explicitly, "We are designing new products and redesigning existing products to attract GLP-1 consumers." That's not subtle, that's strategy. Then there's Nestle. Nestle scientists have developed a proprietary whey protein microgel technology to enable the development of protein-rich beverages that help to manage blood sugar levels and appetite. The first product to utilize this tech was a pre-meal drink under the Boost brand in 2024 to help consumers suppress their hunger and create a feeling of being full. They launched an entire new brand called Vital Pursuit in the fall of 2024. This is a brand new platform with 14 different frozen food options: protein infused pasta, portion aligned sandwich melts, cauliflower crust pizzas, all designed for GLP-1 users, all portion controlled, all nutritionally optimized. Then there's Abbott Laboratories, which makes Ensure and other nutritional products. They have expanded into high protein shakes specifically designed for GLP-1 users. These shakes include fast and slow digesting proteins that support muscle health for up to 7 hours, which is important because of GLP-1 users often lose muscle mass when they are restricting calories. General Mills took a different approach. Rather than creating entirely new brands, they're repositioning legacy brands around protein and fiber. Cheerios Protein, Progresso Master Soups with enhanced protein, Nature Valley Creamy Protein Bars. Their CEO, Jeff Harmening, was really frank about this. GLP-1s are a headwind. Less calories across categories inevitably weighs on top line sales. But the bigger story is the shift in what consumers want. And according to research from Graby Adium, a massive ingredient and nutrition company, which has created 25 market-ready food and supplement concepts specifically for GLP-1 users, their research showed that 83% of GLP-1 users prefer food products marketed as supportive of their medication needs. That's a huge number. That's consumer demand and not just a marketing angle. Even Smoothie King launched a GLP-1 friendly menu with 5 recipes focused on high protein, high fiber, and no added sugars. So I had a quick check on Metriscard's consumer insights platform to see what doctors, experts, and shoppers are actually talking about when it comes to GLP-1 friendly habits. A few patterns stood out. People are cutting back on dairy-based proteins like Fairlife shakes and cottage cheese and switching to plant milks and clean ingredients. There's a growing focus on anti-inflammatory foods, spices like turmeric and cumin, grass-fed meats, organic berries, and olive oil dressings made at home. Frozen vegetables and fish are seen as convenient, nutrient dense staples, while processed protein foods like pancakes or bars are falling out of favor. Okay, so let's zoom out. What does all of this actually mean if you're a brand? First, the reality check. If your business is built on volume and indulgence, you're facing a structural headwind. According to PwC's analysis of consumer data from Numerator, GLP-1 users reduce grocery spending by 6 to 8% within the first 12 months. That's not a temporary dip, that's a new baseline. But here's the opportunity. This isn't a category destruction event, it's a category redefinition event. According to Harvard Business Review's analysis of this trend, GLP-1s are reprogramming desire. They're not eliminating the desire to eat well, look good, feel confident, or enjoy food. They're just changing the parameters. So here's what brands need to do. Number one, audit your portfolio. Where are you vulnerable? What products are in the high calorie, low nutrition bucket? Those are the ones getting hit hardest. Start there. For instance, plant protein bars, 3 ingredient plant milks, olive oil dressings, frozen veg plus protein kits, and tuna in or olive oil SKUs. Number two, innovate around protein and fiber, not as a gimmick, but as a core formulation strategy. GLP-1 users are looking for products that deliver nutrition and satiety in small portions. That's a real need. Offer plant-based, low-inflammation proteins, minimal ingredient lists, no seed oils, nightshade-free variants, and slow, fast-digesting protein blends that support muscle retention. Number three, change your packaging and portions. If people are eating 40% less, they're not going to buy family-sized bags. Smaller, single-serve, portion-control formats aren't a compromise. They're table stakes. Clear front-of-pack badges, portion cues, channel-specific menus. This is what really works. Number four, market with authenticity. Don't try to hide what you're doing. Brands that are being transparent about their GLP-1 strategy, like Conagra, are getting consumer trust. 83% of GLP-1 users prefer products marketed as supportive of their needs, according to ADM research. Call out high protein, high fiber, portion control, low sugar, and explicitly position as GLP-1 supportive where appropriate. Number five, think beyond food. GLP-1 users are spending more on fitness trackers, activewear, cosmetics, and wellness products. These are cross-category partnerships and opportunities here that most brands aren't even thinking about yet. And here's something really important. This isn't a permanent thing for individual consumers. Many people discontinue GLP-1 medication within the first 6 to 12 months due to its side effects, cost, and other reasons. But the cultural shift, that's going to stick. Even consumers not on GLP-1s are starting to internalize the idea of eating less, eating better, and prioritizing nutrition that matters. My point here is education. Equip them with plateau prevention tips and reinforce that plans are personalized and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach that works. So what's really the forward outlook here? Morgan Stanley analysts forecast the global market for obesity drugs will reach $105 billion by 2030. TD Cowen recently projected that the major GLP-1 producers, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, will grow to $139 billion by 2030. That's a 38% increase from their previous projection. This isn't really a bubble. This is a market that's building durability. GLP-1s may eventually be prescribed for other conditions, fertility, addiction, even heart disease. So the user base could be way larger than just weight loss. For brands, this means the time to adopt isn't in 2027 or 2028, it's right now. The companies that are going to win are the ones that start today, the ones that are auditing portfolios, innovating products, and positioning themselves as partners in the health journey, not opponents of it. The Ozempic effect isn't just reshaping how people shop or what they eat. It's redefining entire industries from food to retail to wellness to travel. If you're a marketer or brand leader, the question isn't whether this will affect your business. Our data already shows it's happening. The real question is whether you lead through the intelligent adaptation or get caught reacting to those who saw it coming. If you're rethinking your brand strategy for 2025 or in a few weeks we would be in 2026, this is the time to dive deeper. We've just released our new ebook, The Hero Brand Blueprint, where we break down what separates enduring brands from the rest. You can find the link in the show notes. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions about how your brand can adapt to these shifts, drop them in the comments or reach out. We are here to help. See you next time, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.